5 years ago, Chief Emmanuel Wosu, a 55-year-old billionaire in Lagos, was being slowly poisoned by his own wife, Zara. She'd been adding arsenic to his evening tea for 6 months, making him sick while planning to inherit his fortune. But there was one person who noticed something was wrong. Adana Okoro, a 32-year-old widow who worked as the chief's maid. Adana had lost her own husband in a bus accident and was struggling to raise her 10-year-old daughter, Chioma, on a maid salary. One evening, Adana witnessed Zara adding white powder to the chief's tea. She investigated, gathered evidence, photos, recordings, everything. At the last moment, when the chief was about to drink a lethal dose of poison, Adana screamed, "Don't drink that tea!" The cup shattered. The plot was exposed. Police arrested Zara and her secret lover, Kunal, the chief's business partner, who'd been helping her embezzle millions. At the trial, the evidence was overwhelming. Zara was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Kunal got 20 years. And Chief Emma, grateful to the maid who'd saved his life, rewarded Adana with 25 million Nigerian nairas in Cachet House in Lekki, worth 50 million Nigerian nairas, a foundation director position, 500,000 Nigerian nairas per month salary, a trust fund for Chioma's education. Adana went from cleaning toilets to running the Nosa Family Foundation, helping hundreds of widows across Nigeria. Justice was served. Evil was punished. The good guys won. Or so everyone thought. If you're new here and haven't watched part 1, click the link in the description right now to see how Adana the maid saved billionaire Chief Emma from his poisonous wife Zara. That's where this story begins, and you need to understand what happened 5 years ago to fully appreciate what's about to happen now. For those who watched part 1, welcome back. You remember how justice was served, how Zara went to prison for 25 years, how Adana got rewarded with millions and became a foundation director. You thought the story was over, right? Wrong. Because 5 years later, someone new wants revenge. Someone who believes Adana is not a hero, but a manipulator. Someone who thinks the chief chose a maid over his own blood. And this time, the conspiracy involves 4 villains, a 2-year plan, and a plot so twisted that even Adana, who exposed one poison conspiracy, doesn't see it coming. Let's dive in. 5 years after the trial, Adana Okoro stood on the balcony of her 3-bedroom house in Lekki Phase 1, watching the Lagos sunrise paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. At 37 years old, she'd learned that perfect moments were rare and should be savored. Her phone buzzed. A text from Chief Emma. Board meeting at 10 a.m. Foundation presentation. You ready? She smiled and typed back, "Always ready, sir." Sir, even after 5 years of running the Nosa Family Foundation, even after becoming one of Lagos's most respected philanthropists, even after Chief Emma had told her repeatedly to call him by his name, Adana still called him sir. Some habits, forged in humility, never died. "Mama." Chioma's voice rang out from inside the house. "I can't find my chemistry textbook." Adana laughed and went inside. Her daughter, 15 now, tall and brilliant, with her late father's sharp mind and her mother's determined spirit, was frantically searching through her school bag. "Top shelf in your room," Adana said. "Where you left it last night." "Oh." Chioma grinned sheepishly. "Thanks, Mama." Watching her daughter rush off to get ready for school, Adana felt that familiar swell of gratitude. 5 years ago, they lived in a 1-room apartment in Surulere. Chioma had studied by candlelight during power cuts. Adana had worked as a maid, cleaning toilets and cooking meals, barely making enough to survive. Then everything had changed. She'd saved Chief Emma's life by exposing his wife Zara's poison plot. And in return, he'd transformed their lives. A house in Lekki, a trust fund for Chioma's education, and a position as director of the Nosa Family Foundation with a salary of 500,000 Nigerian nairas per month. The foundation now helped over 200 widows across Nigeria, giving them what Adana had once desperately needed: hope, resources, and a path forward. Life was good, better than good. It was everything she'd never dared to dream. That's why the letter felt like ice water in her veins. It arrived that afternoon, slipped under her office door at the foundation headquarters. A simple white envelope with no return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper with words printed in bold black letters. You took everything from her. Now you'll pay. Starting with what you love most. Beneath the words, a photograph. Chioma, walking home from school, her backpack over her shoulder, completely unaware of the camera capturing her. Adana's hand shook. She immediately called Chioma's school. This is Mrs. Okoro. I need to speak to my daughter Chioma immediately. I'm sorry, Mrs. Okoro, but Chioma left early today. She said she had a doctor's appointment and you'd sent a car for her. Adana's blood turned to ice. I sent no car. Where's my daughter? She left about 20 minutes ago with... Adana didn't wait to hear more. She grabbed her car keys and ran. Her phone rang as she reached the parking lot. A known number. She answered, breathless with fear. Mama? Chioma's voice small and frightened. Chioma, baby, where you? Are you okay? I'm fine, Mama. I'm sorry. A woman came to school. She said you were in an accident and sent her to pick me up, but then she just drove me around for 10 minutes and dropped me at a bus stop. She said to tell you. This is just a warning. Next time, I won't bring her back. What woman? What did she look like? She was pretty, maybe 30-something. Light skin, expensive clothes. She had a British accent. Adana's mind raced. Who? Why? She picked up Chioma from the bus stop, held her daughter tight, and drove straight to the police station to file a report. But the officer's response was discouraging. Mrs. Okoro, your daughter is safe. No actual crime was committed. Someone gave her a ride and dropped her off unharmed. Without more evidence, there's not much we can do. She was kidnapped from her school. She went willingly, thinking you'd sent the car. I understand you're upset, but legally. Adana left the station furious and terrified. Whoever sent that letter had access to Chioma's school, had resources to plan and execute, had the sophistication to leave no trace. This wasn't random. This was targeted. That evening, she sat with Chief Emma in his study, showing him the letter and explaining what had happened to Chioma. Chief Emma, now 60 years old, his hair more gray than black, studied the letter with a frown. You took everything from her, he read aloud. Her. Do you have any idea who her might be? The only woman who hates me is Zara, but she's in Kirikiri prison serving a 25-year sentence. Prison doesn't mean powerless, Chief Emma said grimly. Zara had connections, money hidden away. She could be orchestrating this from inside. But why now? Why after 5 years? Revenge doesn't have an expiration date. Adana. And Zara always was patient when it came to destruction. He picked up his phone and called Barrister Okoye, his longtime lawyer and friend. Barrister, I need you to investigate something. Check if Zara Wosu has had any unusual visitors in prison over the past 6 months. Phone calls, letters, anything suspicious. Also, run a background check on anyone who might be working on her behalf. He paused, listening. Yes, it's urgent. Someone threatened Adana and her daughter today. After hanging up, Chief Emma turned to Adana with concern etched deep in his face. I'm increasing security at your house and Chioma's school. You're not facing this alone. Sir, I don't want to be a burden. Adana! His voice was firm. You saved my life. You've helped hundreds of women rebuild theirs. Your family, to me. Protecting you is not a burden. It's a privilege. Family. The word made Adana's eyes sting with emotion. She had no blood relatives left except Chioma. But Chief Emma had become more than an employer, more than a benefactor. He was a father figure she'd lost when her own parents died. As she drove home that night with Chioma beside her, Adana couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every car behind them felt like a threat. Every shadow held danger. Mama, you're scaring me, Chioma said softly. What's going on? Adana took a breath and decided her daughter deserved the truth. Someone is threatening us. I don't know who or why, but I promise you I will keep you safe. Is it like before? Like when that woman Zara tried to poison Chief Emma? I don't know, baby, but if it is, we'll handle it the same way we did then, with truth, courage, and faith that justice will win. Chioma nodded, But Adana saw the fear in her daughter's eyes, fear that matched her own. That night, Adana barely slept. She kept checking the locks on doors and windows, kept her phone close, kept thinking about that letter. You took everything from her. Who was her? And what had Adana supposedly taken? The answer came 3 days later, in the most unexpected way possible. Chief Emma called her to his mansion for an urgent meeting. When she arrived, she found him sitting in his study with a woman Adana had never met. The woman was stunning. Light brown skin, perfectly styled hair, designer clothes that screamed wealth and sophistication. She looked to be in her early 30s and carried herself with the confidence of someone who'd never known struggle. But when she looked at Adana, her eyes held pure hatred. "Adana," Chief Emma said heavily, "this is my daughter, Ngozi Wosu. She's just returned from London after 10 years. Adana's confusion must have shown on her face because Chief Emma continued. "Ngozi wanted to meet you. She has some concerns about the foundation, about our family arrangement." Ngozi stood, and Adana noticed her hands were clenched into fists. When she spoke, her British accent was clipped and cold. "Concerns? That's a polite way to put it, father." She turned to Adana. "So you're the famous maid who saved my father, the woman he gave millions to, the woman he treats like a daughter, while his real daughter was struggling alone in London." Adana's stomach dropped. I don't understand." "Don't you?" Ngozi's smile was bitter. "Let me explain it to you simply. My mother died 10 years ago. My father was devastated. And you, the helpful little maid, were there to comfort him, to cook his meals, to take my mother's place." "That's not what happened," Adana said quietly. "I was just doing my job. Your father was grieving. I tried to be respectful." "Respectful?" Ngozi laughed harshly. 5 years ago, when I lost my job in London and was broke and desperate, I called my father begging for help. Do you know what he gave me? £10,000. Just enough to survive a few weeks. Not enough to rebuild my life. Not enough to show he actually cared. She stepped closer, her voice rising. "And do you know what he gave you? 25 million Nigerian nairas. A house in Lekki. A foundation to run. A salary of 500,000 Nigerian nairas per month. Tell me, Adana, what kind of man gives a maid millions while his own daughter gets barely enough to survive?" Chief Emma stood. "Ngozi, that's enough. I've explained this to you." "Explain what, father? That you thought tough love would teach me character? That you wanted me to learn to survive on my own before inheriting your fortune? Well, congratulations. I learned. I learned that you value a stranger more than your own blood. I learned that saving your life is worth more than being born your daughter." Tears were streaming down Ngozi's face now, years of pain and resentment pouring out. Anna felt sick. She'd never known Chief Emma had a daughter. He'd never mentioned her. And now this woman, this hurting, angry woman, stood before her, radiating hatred. "I didn't know," Adana said softly. "I didn't know about you. I didn't know you needed help. If you had what?" Ngozi spat. "You would have convinced my father to help me? You had that much influence over him? Thank you for proving my point. Ngozi, please." Chief Emma's voice was tired. "Adana saved my life. She earned everything I gave her. This isn't about choosing her over you. This is about honoring someone who acted with extraordinary courage when my life was in danger. And I'm your daughter. I shouldn't have to save your life to earn your love or your help." The words hung in the air, raw and devastating. Adana quietly excused herself and left the study, her heart heavy. As she walked to her car, she heard Ray's voices continuing inside. Father and daughter, both wounded, both unable to bridge the chasm between them. And Adana understood, with cold certainty, who had sent that threatening letter. Not Zara. Ngozi, Chief Emma's own daughter, wanted revenge. Against the maid who'd stolen her father's generosity. Against a woman who'd received millions while she'd received barely enough to survive. As Adana drove home, her phone buzzed. Another text. Unknown number. "Now you know who I am. And soon you'll know what I'm capable of. You took my father's love. I'll take everything you love, starting with your daughter, then your foundation, then your reputation, and finally your life. Sweet dreams, Adana." Adana's hands tightened on the steering wheel. This wasn't just a threat. This was a declaration of war. And unlike 5 years ago when she'd faced Zara's poison plot, this time her enemy wasn't just evil. This time, her enemy had a legitimate reason to hate her. The billionaire's daughter just returned after 10 years. She blames Adana for everything. Her father gave her only £10,000 while giving the maid 25 Nigerian nairas million. She sent those threats. She kidnapped Chioma as a warning, and now she's declared war against Adana. But here's the question. Is Ngozi working alone? Or is there someone else pulling the strings? Smash that like button. Subscribe to African Tales by Zion because next chapter reveals a shocking prison alliance, and you will not believe who Ngozi teams up with. Comment below. Does Ngozi have a point about the father's favoritism? Turn on those notifications because this revenge conspiracy is about to get deadly. 6 months earlier. Kirikiri Maximum Security Prison, Lagos. Zara Wosu sat in the prison visiting room, her once beautiful face now hardened by 5 years behind bars. At 38, she looked 50. No makeup to hide the lines of bitterness, no expensive clothes to distract from the orange prison uniform, no beauty salon treatments to maintain the perfection that had once made men weak. But her eyes still held that cold calculation, that patient hunger for revenge. The guard announced her visitor. "Ngozi Wosu to see you." Zara's eyebrows rose. Chief Emma's daughter? The one who'd been living in London for the past decade? Why would she visit? When Ngozi walked in, sophisticated, expensively dressed, radiating privilege, Zara's first instinct was hatred. This woman represented everything Zara had lost. Youth, freedom, wealth, status. But then Ngozi sat down, and Zara saw something in her eyes that changed everything. Rage. The same consuming, bitter rage that had led Zara to poison Chief Emma. The same rage that had sustained her through 5 years of prison hell. "Mrs. Zara," Ngozi said coldly, "or should I call you the woman who tried to murder my father?" Zara smiled without humor. "Call me whatever you like. I'm sure you didn't fly all the way from London to exchange pleasantries. What do you want?" "Information." Ngozi leaned forward. 5 years ago, you were convicted of attempting to murder my father with arsenic in his evening tea. The evidence against you was overwhelming. You confessed on tape. You went to prison. Case closed. Is there a question in there somewhere? Yes. Did you actually do it, or were you framed? Zara studied the young woman carefully. This was unexpected. Why would you think I was framed? Because I've been thinking about that case for months now, and some things don't add up. Ngozi pulled out a notebook. The main evidence against you came from Adana Okoro, the maid. She witnessed you putting poison in the tea. She recorded your confession. She provided the bottle of arsenic found in your drawer. She was a hero who saved my father. And she went from being a poor widow cleaning toilets to a millionaire with foundation in less than a year. She got 25 million Nigerian nairas, a house in Lekki, and a position of power. Tell me, Zara, what maid gets that kind of reward unless she planned the whole thing? Zara felt a spark of something she hadn't felt in 5 years. Hope, not hope for freedom. She was realistic enough to know her 25-year sentence was solid, but hope for revenge. Hope for destroying the woman who destroyed her. You think Adana framed me, Zara said slowly. Why? Because it's a perfect con. She was the maid. She had access to the kitchen, to your bedroom, to my father's routine. She could have been poisoning my father slowly for months, then discovered your plot just in time to look like a hero. She plants evidence, records of fake confession, and suddenly she's a savior who deserves millions. Zara's mind raced. Was it possible? Had she been so focused on her own guilt that she'd never considered she might have been set up? No. She knew the truth. She had tried to poison Chief Emma. She had plotted with her lover Colonel. The evidence was real because the crime was real. But this bitter, angry daughter sitting across from her didn't need to know that. What Ngozi needed was an enemy, someone to blame for her pain, and Zara could give her that enemy. "You're right," Zara said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I've been saying this for 5 years, but no one would listen. Adanao Koro is a master manipulator. She poisoned your father, then blamed me. She planted the arsenic in my drawer. She probably drugged me the night I supposedly confessed on tape. I don't even remember half of what I allegedly said. It was all lies, but Ngozi was nodding, her eyes bright with vindication. I knew it," Ngozi breathed. "I knew something was wrong. My father isn't stupid. How could he not see what she is?" "Because she's good at playing the victim," Zara said. "Poor widow. Struggling single mother. Humble maid just try and survive. She knew exactly how to manipulate your father's grief over losing your mother. She probably studied your mother's mannerisms, her way of cooking, everything. Made herself indispensable. And then, when she had his trust completely, she made her move, and my father gave her everything." Ngozi's voice cracked. "When I needed help, when I was broke and desperate in London, he sent me £10,000, just enough to survive a few weeks. He said he wanted me to learn independence, to build character, to prove I could manage money before inheriting his fortune." She laughed bitterly. "But Adana, she got 25 million Nigerian nairas immediately. A house, a foundation, a salary of 500,000 per month. She didn't have to prove anything. She just had to cry and play the hero." Zara reached across the table, her voice intense. "Your father chose a maid over his own daughter, just like he chose her word over mine. But we can make this right." "How?" "You're in prison. I'm in London. Adana has my father wrapped around her finger. Not if we work together." Zara glanced around to make sure no guards were listening closely. "I still have resources outside these walls. Money hidden in accounts they never found. Contacts who owe me favors. And information. So much information about your father's business, his routines, his weaknesses. What are you proposing?" "A partnership. You want your father to see the truth about Adana. I want revenge for 5 years of my life stolen. We both want the same thing, to destroy that conniving maid and take back what she stole from us." Ngozi's eyes narrowed. "I'm listening." Over the next hour, Zara laid out a plan. It was beautiful in its simplicity and devastating in its scope. They would make Adana look guilty of the very thing she'd accused Zara of, poisoning Chief Emma. But this time, the poison would be real. The evidence would be ironclad. And Adana would go to prison while they reclaimed everything. "I have a contact," Zara said. "Dr. Bashir. He's developed a new compound, completely untraceable by normal toxicology tests. It causes symptoms identical to natural illness, confusion, weakness, organ failure. Doctors will think it's disease. By the time anyone suspects poison, it'll be too late to prove anything. And how we get this poison into my father's system?" Zara smiled slowly. "That's where you come in. Or rather, where someone close to you comes in. Someone your father would never suspect. Someone with daily access to his food, his drinks, his routine. I don't have anyone like that. I've been in London for 10 years. Then we create someone like that. Your father is widowed, lonely. He remarried briefly, but his second wife, me, turned out to be a poisoner. He hasn't dated seriously since. What if a wonderful woman came into his life? Someone kind, caring, perfect in every way. Someone he could trust completely. You want to send another woman to seduce my father? Not just any woman. Someone with a personal connection to me. Someone who can be controlled. Someone who will follow our plan exactly." Zara paused for effect. "Dr. Bashir has a younger sister, Folake. She's 45, attractive, well-educated, and desperate for money. Her husband died 2 years ago, leaving her with massive debts. For the right price, she'd do anything." Ngozi's eyes widened. "You want to plan her in my father's life as a potential wife." "Exactly. She'll court him slowly, win his trust, eventually marry him. And once she's his wife, she'll have complete access. She can poison him gradually, following Dr. Bashir's precise instructions. Meanwhile, we plant evidence pointing to Adana. Medications found in her car, security footage of her entering your father's house at odd hours, forged emails showing her researching poisons. And when my father gets sick, everyone will remember what happened 5 years ago. Oh, Chief Emma is being poisoned again, just like with Zara. But this time, all evidence points to Adana, not the new wife. Adana goes to prison. I'm vindicated. My sentence gets reviewed as a possible wrongful conviction. Your father, weakened by poison and betrayal, loses his mental sharpness. You step in as his daughter, contest as well on grounds of diminished capacity, and take control of the empire that should have been yours all along. Ngozi sat back, her mind clearly racing through the possibilities. This is insane. This is justice. People could die. My father won't die if you don't want him to. We control the dosage. We can make him sick enough to seem poison, but not enough to kill him. Or... Zara leaned closer, her voice dropping to barely a whisper. We can go all the way, make Adana a murderer. Not just an attempted murderer. The choice is yours. Ngozi was silent for a long moment. Zara could see the war happening behind her eyes. Conscience battling rage, morality fighting revenge. Finally, Ngozi spoke. I don't want my father dead. I'm angry at him, but he's still my father. But Adana, she deserves to suffer for what she's done. She deserves to lose everything, just like she made me lose everything. Then we're agreed? We're agreed, but I have conditions. First, my father must survive. Second, if this works and Adana goes to prison, you help me get control of the foundation. I want to dismantle everything she built, every widow she helped, every program she started. I want it all destroyed. I want her legacy erased. Zara smiled. Perfect, pure, beautiful revenge. You have a deal. I'll contact Dr. Bashir and his sister Folake. You provide the funding. I assume you have access to money. I have savings. About 200,000 pounds. Is that enough? More than enough. Here's what happens next. You transfer the money to an account I'll provide. Dr. Bashir will use it to prepare the poison and coach his sister on seducing your father. You return to London and maintain your normal life. No contact with me or Dr. Bashir that can be traced. In about 6 months, Folake will accidentally meet your father at a charity event. She'll be perfect, kind, intelligent, respectful of his late wife's memory. She'll court him slowly, marry him within a year, and then the plan begins. And Adana will have no idea what's coming. None whatsoever. Zara's smile was cold. 5 years ago, she destroyed my life. Now will destroy hers. But unlike what she did to me, will do it perfectly. No mistakes. No mercy. They shook hands across the prison visiting table. A billionaire's daughter and a convicted attempted murderer, united by hatred for the maid who'd risen too high. As Ngozi left the prison, Zara allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. She lied about being framed, of course. She had tried to poison Chief Emma. But Ngozi didn't need to know that. Ngozi just needed to believe she was fighting for justice instead of committing the same crime Zara had. And that belief would make her dangerous. The guard came to escort Zara back to her cell. As she walked through the gray corridors, Zara thought about Adana Okoro, the maid who'd screamed, "Don't drink that tea," and ruined everything. Soon, Adana would know what it felt like to scream warnings no one believed. Soon, she'd know what it felt like to watch everything crumble. Soon, she'd be exactly where Zara was now, in a cell behind bars, destroyed. The guard locked Zara's cell door with a clang that echoed through the block. Zara lay on her thin mattress and smiled at the ceiling. Revenge, she'd learned, was a dish best served cold. And after 5 years of waiting, hers would be frozen solid. They're working together. The angry daughter and the imprisoned wife. Zara lied about being framed, but Ngozi believes her. They're hiring Dr. Bashir, the corrupt doctor who escaped before. His sister Folake will seduce the chief and become his new wife. It's a 2-year plan to poison him slowly and frame Adana. Ngozi gave 200,000 pounds to fund this deadly conspiracy. And Adana has no idea what's coming. Smash that like button. Subscribe to African Tales by Zion because next chapter shows Folia's seduction, the wedding, and when the poison starts. Comment below, can a 2-year con really work? Turn on those notifications because the trap is being set right now. Present day, 2 years after the prison meeting. Chief Emma Wosu looked across the dining table at his wife of 18 months and felt a wave of gratitude. Folik was pouring his evening tea, her movements graceful and practiced, her smile warm and genuine. "You're working too hard, darling," she said, setting the cup before him. "The doctor said you need to rest more." "I'm fine, my dear. Just the usual fatigue." But he wasn't fine. For the past 3 months, Chief Emma had been feeling increasingly unwell. Headaches that wouldn't quit. A constant exhaustion that sleep didn't cure. Moments of confusion where he'd forget things he'd just said. Muscle weakness that made climbing stairs difficult. His doctors had run every test imaginable. Brain scans, blood work, cardiac evaluations. Everything came back normal. "Probably just stress," they'd said. "Maybe early signs of aging. You're 60 years old, Chief. The body slows down." But this felt wrong. This felt familiar. This felt exactly like 5 years ago, when Zara had been poisoning him. He'd mentioned this to Folik, of course. She'd been horrified. "Darling, don't even think such things. No one is poisoning you. You're just overworked. Please, let me take care of you. I'll make sure you rest. Eat well. Take your vitamins." And she had. Folik had been the perfect wife. Attentive, caring, never asking for anything. Always putting his needs first. When they'd met 2 years ago at a charity gala, Chief Emma had been charmed by her warmth and intelligence. She was a widow like his late first wife had been. She understood loss. She didn't want his money. She had her own successful consulting business. She just wanted companionship. In their middle years, the courtship had been slow and respectful. She'd never pushed, never rushed. When he finally proposed after a year of dating, it felt natural and right. His daughter Ngozi, visiting from London for the wedding, had seemed happy for him. She's lovely, father. Nothing like Zara. I think mother would have approved. Even Adana had given her blessing. "Sir, if she makes you happy, I'm happy for you." Now, 18 months into marriage, Chief Emma should have been content. Instead, he was sick, getting sicker, and his instincts, honed by 60 years of life and one near-death experience, were screaming that something was wrong. He looked at the tea Folik had just poured. It looked normal, smelled normal, but so had Zara's poison tea. "Actually, my dear," he said carefully, "I think I'll skip the tea tonight. My stomach is a bit upset." Folik's smile didn't waver, but Chief Emma caught something in her eyes. A flash of, what? Annoyance? Fear? It was gone so quickly he might have imagined it. "Of course, darling. Let me get you some antacid instead." She took the teacup away, and Chief Emma watched her go, his unease growing. He pulled out his phone and texted Barrister Okoye. "Need to see you tomorrow. Private matter. Urgent." Meanwhile, across town in Lekki, Adana was dealing with her own crisis. The threatening messages from Ngozi had stopped 3 weeks ago, but the damage was done. Adana jumped at shadows. She'd hired security to watch Chioma's school. She'd installed cameras around her house. She barely slept. And then this morning, something new had happened. The foundation's accountant had called her, panicked. "Mrs. Okoro, there's a problem with the accounts. 10 million Nigerian nairas is missing." "Missing? How?" "I don't know. The bank shows transfers to your personal account, but you didn't authorize them, did you?" "Of course not." "Well, someone did, and the bank has your digital signature on the transfer forms." Adana's blood ran cold. "That's impossible. I never signed anything like that. I'm looking at the signatures right now. They look real, Mrs. Okoro. The bank accepted them. The transfers went through yesterday." Adana hung up and immediately called her bank. They confirmed. 10 million Nigerian nairas had been transferred from the foundation account to her personal account in 3 separate transactions over the past week. "But I didn't authorize this." "Mrs. Okoro, we have your digital signatures. Our system verified them. Are you saying these transfers are fraudulent? Yes. Someone forged my signature. Then you'll need to file a police report and a fraud claim. But I should warn you, these signatures passed our verification system. Proving forgery will be difficult. After she hung up, Adana sat in her office, her mind racing. This was no coincidence. First the threats, then the kidnapping scare with Chioma. Now this. Someone was systematically destroying her life, and she knew exactly who. Ngozi. But why? And more importantly, how? Adana had never met Ngozi before that confrontation at Chief Emma's house 3 weeks ago. How had she gotten access to Adana's digital signatures? How had she forged bank transfers that passed verification? Unless she had help. Professional help. Adana called Chief Emma, but his phone went to voicemail. She tried Barrister Okoye next. Barrister, I need your help. Someone is framing me for embezzling from a foundation. The old lawyer's voice was sharp. Tell me everything. She did. When she finished, Barrister Okoye was silent for a long moment. Adana, this is sophisticated. Digital forgery of this level requires expertise and resources. Ngozi Wosu is angry, but is she capable of this? I don't know, but she's the only one who threatened me. She has motive. I'll look into it. In the meantime, don't touch that money in your personal account. Don't spend it. Don't transfer it back. Leave it as evidence that you didn't want to request it. File the police report immediately. And Adana, be careful. If someone is willing to commit fraud, they might be willing to do worse. That evening, Adana sat with Chioma, trying to explain what was happening without terrifying her daughter. Mama, is this like before? With the poisoning? I don't know, baby, but we're going to be smart and careful, just like last time. Chioma, now 15 and frighteningly perceptive, studied her mother. It's the chief's daughter, isn't it? The woman who came back from London. I heard you talking to Barrister Okoye about her. Adana sighed. There was no point lying. Yes, she blames me for her father's choices. She thinks I manipulated him. Did you? No. I saved his life. That's all I did. Everything he gave me, I earned through courage and honesty. But Ngozi doesn't see it that way. What does she see? A maid who got rich while she struggled. She's not completely wrong to feel hurt. Her father could have helped her more when she needed it. But taking that pain out on me won't fix anything. It'll just create more victims. Chioma was quiet for a moment. Then, Mama, I'm scared. Adana pulled her daughter close. Me too, baby. Me too. The next morning, Adana went to the police station to file the fraud report. The officer took her statement but seemed skeptical. Mrs. Okoro, you're claiming someone forged your digital signature to transfer money from your foundation into your own personal account? Yes. And you have no idea who might have done this? I have a suspicion. Chief Emma's daughter, Ngozi Wosu. She's been threatening me. Do you have proof of these threats? Adana showed him the text messages. The officer's expression didn't change. These messages don't explicitly threaten violence or criminal activity, and they're from an unknown number. You can't prove Ms. Ngozi sent them. Then investigate. Check her phone records, her computer. Mrs. Okoro, we can't just investigate someone because you suspect them. We need evidence. Right now. All we have is 10 million Nigerian nairas that went from your foundation to your personal account with what appears to be your valid signature. From our perspective, this looks like you transferred the money yourself and are now claiming fraud to avoid consequences. Adana felt sick. I would never steal from my own foundation. Those widows depend on that money. I'm sure you wouldn't. But our job is to follow evidence, not feelings. I'll file your report, but unless you can provide proof of who forged those signatures, there's not much we can do. As Adana left the police station, she felt the walls closing in. Then her phone rang. Chief Emma. Adana, I need you to come to my house immediately. Something's happened. Sir, what's wrong? Just come. Now. When Adana arrived at Chief Emma's mansion 30 minutes later, she found him sitting in his study, looking devastated. Beside him sat Ngozi, her face a mask of concern. and across from them sat two police officers. Adana's heart sank. Mrs. Okoro, one of the officers, said, "We need to ask you some questions about Chief Emmanuel Wosu's medical condition." "His medical condition? I don't understand." Chief Emma spoke, his voice weak. "Adana, my doctors found something in my latest blood work. Traces of a toxic substance. They think someone has been poisoning me." No. Sir, that's terrible, but why am I? Because this was found in your car this morning." Ngozi held up a clear plastic evidence bag containing a small brown bottle. "It's the same poison that's in my father's system. Care to explain why you have it?" Adana's world tilted. "That's not mine. I've never seen that bottle before. Someone planted it." "In your locked car?" Ngozi's voice was cold. "How convenient. Just like how someone forged your signatures to steal from the Foundation. You're very good at claiming you're being framed, Adana." "I am being framed. By you." The police officers exchanged glances. One of them stood. "Mrs. Okoro, we're going to need you to come to the station for questioning." "This is insane. I didn't poison anyone." "Chief, tell them. 5 years ago I saved you from being poisoned." Chief Emma looked at her with confusion and pain in his eyes. The poison was clearly affecting his judgment, making him uncertain. "Adana, I want to believe you. But the evidence, first the missing money, now this bottle in your car, and I've been getting sicker ever since." "Since your new wife came into your life." Adana's voice was desperate now. "Sir, please think. When did you start feeling ill?" "About 3 months after I married Folake." "And where is Folake now? Why isn't she here?" "She's at a medical conference in Abuja. She left yesterday." How convenient, Adana thought. "Sir, 5 years ago, Czar poisoned you and I exposed her. Now I'm being accused of the exact same crime. Doesn't that strike you as suspicious?" "What strikes me as suspicious," Ngozi interjected coldly, "is that you benefited enormously from saving my father last time. 25 million Nigerian nairas. A house. A foundation. What if you've been planning to do it again? Poison him slowly, then discover the plot at the last minute and demand even more reward? That's ridiculous." "Is it? Or is it the perfect con repeated? You got away with it once. Why not try again?" The police officer cleared his throat. "Mrs. Okoro, please come with us voluntarily or we'll have to arrest you." Adana looked at Chief Emma, pleading silently. But he looked away, confused and sick. She had no choice. "I'll come, but I'm calling my lawyer." As the police led her out in handcuffs, Adana saw Ngozi watching from the window, a small smile playing at her lips. The trap had been sprung perfectly, and Adana had walked right into it. Adana's arrested, poison found in her car, 10 Nigerian nairas million stolen, with her signature. Chief Emma is being poisoned and all evidence points to her. Folate conveniently left town before the arrest. Ngozi is playing grieving daughter perfectly, and the chief is too sick to think clearly. Adana's going to jail for a crime she didn't commit. But wait, where I asked Barrister Okoye. And what will Chioma do when she sees her mother in handcuffs? Smash that like button. Subscribe to African Tales by Zion because next chapter shows how a 15-year-old girl and an old lawyer fight back against 4 conspirators. Comment, how can they possibly prove Adana's innocence? Turn on those notifications because the next chapter is explosive. Chioma Okoro stood outside the police station, tears streaming down her face, watching through the window as her mother sat in a holding cell. This couldn't be happening. Not again. She didn't do it, Chioma said to the police officer at the desk. My mother saved Chief Emma once before. Why would she poison him now? That's for the investigators to determine, young lady. Now, please, you need to leave. This is a restricted area. I'm not leaving without my mother. Chioma. A familiar voice spoke from behind her. Barrister Okoye, now 67 years old and officially retired, placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Come, let me handle this. Barrister, they arrested Mama. They think she poisoned Chief Emma. You have to help her. I will. But first, I need you to calm down and tell me everything you know. They sat in his car outside the police station. Chioma explained about Ngozi's return from London, the threatening messages, the kidnapping scare at school, the missing foundation money, and now the poison found in her mother's car. Barrister Okoye listened intently, his sharp legal mind processing every detail. "This is a sophisticated frame-up," he said finally. "Whoever is behind this has resources, technical expertise, and inside access to both your mother's life and Chief Emma's household. It's Ngozi. It has to be. Possibly. But Ngozi has been in London for most of the past 2 years. She only returned 3 weeks ago. Someone has been planning this for much longer than 3 weeks. Then who?" Barrister Okoye's eyes narrowed. "Let me make some calls." Over the next 72 hours, while Adana sat in jail awaiting arraignment, Barrister Okoye and Chioma launched their own investigation. First, they examined Folake, Chief Emma's new wife. She married him 18 months ago, Barrister Okoye said, reviewing his notes. But when did they meet? Chioma pulled up old photos on her mother's phone. Adana had photographed Chief Emma's wedding. The wedding was in January. They dated for about a year before that. So they met roughly 2.5 years ago. Right around the time Ngozi would have been planning this, if she's involved. Barrister Okoye pulled up Folake's background check from the pre-wedding investigation. Clean record. Widow of a businessman. Runs consulting firm. No obvious red flags. But something must connect her to Ngozi. They spent hours digging through public records, social media, business registrations. Finally, Chioma found it. "Barrister, look at this. Folake's maiden name is Bashir. She has a brother named Dr. K.O. Bashir." Barrister Okoye's face went pale. "Oh no. You know him? He was the doctor who helped Zara with the original poisoning 5 years ago. He fled to Ghana before we could arrest him. I thought he was still there." Chioma's hand shook as she typed his name into the search engine. Recent entries showed he'd returned to Nigeria 18 months ago and opened a private practice in Lagos. "Folake is Dr. Bashir's sister," Chioma whispered. "And Dr. Bashir helped Zara poison Chief Emma before. Which means Folake's marriage to Chief Emma was no coincidence. She was planted there. By whom is the question? Zara from prison. Ngozi? Both working together. They needed proof. Something concrete that connected all the conspirators. Barrister Okoye made a call to his private investigator. "I need surveillance on Dr. K.O. Bashir. 24 hours, starting immediately. I want to know where he goes, who he meets, what he's doing." Next, they tackled the financial trail. Chioma, surprisingly tech-savvy for a 15-year-old, managed to trace the origin of the forged bank transfers. The transfers were initiated from an IP address registered to a company called Westbridge Consulting, she said, showing Barrister Okoye her laptop screen. "And who owns Westbridge Consulting?" More searches, more digging, and then Folake Bashir. Folake owns Westbridge Consulting, which means she had the technical capability to forge Adana's signatures. But she would have needed the original signatures to copy. Where would she get those? Chioma thought hard. Foundation documents? Mama signs a lot of paperwork for the foundation. If someone could access those files, who has access to foundation files? Mama, the accountant, the board members, and... Chioma paused. And Chief Emma. He's the foundation's primary donor and chairman of the board. He has full access to all records, which means Folake, as his wife, could have accessed them through his computer or his files at home. The pieces were falling into place. But they needed more. They needed to prove active conspiracy, not just suspicious coincidences. That's when Barrister Okoye decided to set a trap. He spread a carefully crafted rumor through legal circles. Adana was considering a plea deal. In exchange for a lighter sentence, she would confess to poisoning Chief Emma and provide details about her supposed motive and method. The rumor was designed to reach one person in particular, Zara in prison. If Zara and Ngozi were working together, the news that Adana might confess would make them panic. They'd need to communicate, to adjust their plan, to make sure their stories aligned. And when they communicated, Barrister Okoye would be listening. He'd hired a private investigator to watch Zara's visitor logs and monitor her prison communications. It was technically illegal without a warrant, but Barrister Okoye was 77 years old and didn't particularly care about breaking rules if it meant saving an innocent woman. 2 days after spreading the rumor, the investigator called. Barrister, Zara received a visitor today. Ngozi Wosu. Excellent. Did you get audio? Better. I got video. The visiting room has a broken security camera that administration hasn't fixed yet. I installed my own. You want to see this? The video was damning. Ngozi, sitting across from Zara. She's taking a plea deal. She's going to confess. Zara, smiling. Perfect. Let her confess. It means our plan worked even better than expected. Ngozi, but what if she mentions us? What if... Zara, she can't mention us. She doesn't know we exist. She thinks your father's illness is random. She doesn't know about Dr. Bashir or Folake. Relax, Ngozi. The maid is finished. Ngozi, I want her to suffer. I want her to feel what I felt when my father chose her over me. The humiliation, the abandonment, everything. Zara, and she will. Prison is hell. I should know. By the time she gets out in 20 years, her daughter will be grown, her foundation will be dissolved, and everyone will have forgotten the heroic maid who saved Chief Emma. She'll be nothing but a convicted poisoner. But then Ngozi said something that made Barrister Okoye's blood run cold. What about my father? Is he going to survive the poison? Zara's pause was telling. Do you want him to? I don't want him dead. I'm angry, but he's still my father. Then we'll dial back the dosage. Folake knows how much to give him to keep him sick, but not kill him. Once Adonai is convicted, we'll discover the real poisoning was from contaminated supplements or something. Your father will recover slowly. You'll be the devoted daughter who stayed by his side. And when he's grateful and confused, you'll convince him to make you his heir again, removing Adonai from the will. And you? I'll petition for my sentence to be reviewed. If the woman who exposed me turns out to be a poisoner herself, my conviction looks suspicious. I might not get out completely, but I could get my sentence reduced. Either way, we both win. The video ended. Barrister Okoye and Chioma stared at each other in shock. We have them, Chioma whispered. They confessed everything. We have them admitting to a conspiracy. But the video was obtained illegally. It won't be admissible in court. Then what do we do? Barrister Okoye smiled grimly. We use it to set another trap. A legal one this time. He took the video to the police, not as evidence, but as an anonymous tip about a potential conspiracy. The police, intrigued but skeptical, agreed to investigate. But Barrister Okoye knew they needed more. They needed to catch the conspirators in the act. So he proposed something risky, a sting operation. We let the rumor spread that Chief Emma is getting worse. Barrister Okoye explained to the detective in charge. We say he's near death. This will force Folake and Dr. Bashir to either increase the poison, which we can catch them doing, or stop it, which proves they control it all along. The detective was skeptical. This is highly irregular. So is framing an innocent woman for attempted murder. Are you going to help or not? Reluctantly, the detective agreed, but only if Chief Emma consented. Barrister Okoye visited Chief Emma in the hospital, where he was being treated for mysterious poisoning. The billionaire looked terrible, pale, weak, confused. Chief, Barrister Okoye said gently, I need to tell you something about your wife. Over the next hour, he laid out everything they discovered. Folake's connection to Dr. Bashir, Dr. Bashir's connection to Zara, Ngozi's prison visits, the conspiracy to frame Adonai and poison Chief Emma. At first, Chief Emma refused to believe it. His wife, his daughter, working together to destroy him? But when Barrister Okoye showed him the illegally obtained video of Zara and Ngozi's prison conversation, Chief Emma broke down. My own daughter, he whispered, tears streaming down his face. My own daughter wanted me poisoned. Not dead, Barrister Okoye clarified. Just sick enough to manipulate. She's angry, Chief. Angry about the tough love you showed her when she was struggling. Angry that you helped Adonai more than you helped her. I thought I was teaching her strength. Independence. I thought if I just gave her everything, she'd never learned to stand on her own. And meanwhile, you were generous to Adana, because Adana saved my life. She earned everything I gave her. I know that. You know that. But Ngozi sees it differently. To her, you chose a maid over your own blood, and that pain made her willing to destroy you both. Chief Emma closed his eyes. What I need to do? Agree to the sting. Let us catch them in the act. It's the only way to save Adana and stop them from hurting anyone else. Do it, whatever it takes. The sting was elaborate. They spread word that Chief Emma had taken a turn for the worse. Doctors gave him hours to live. Folake, who'd rushed back from her conference when her husband was hospitalized, received the news with perfect dismay. "Oh my God," she cried, collapsing beside his bed. No, please, not like this." But what she didn't know was that the hospital room was equipped with hidden cameras, and that Chief Emma's decline was an act. That night, when Folake thought he was sleeping, she pulled out her phone and texted someone, "It's working too well. He's dying. We need to stop." The response came quickly. "No, this is perfect. When he dies, they'll blame Adana completely. The courts will upgrade her charges to murder. She'll get life in prison. Stick to the plan." The sender? Dr. Bashir. Folake texted back, "I didn't sign up for murder. You signed up for 50 million Nigerian nairas. Do your job or you get nothing." Folake sat there, clearly torn. Then, in a moment that would seal her fate, she pulled a small vial from her purse and added 3 drops to Chief Emma's 4 drip. The cameras caught everything. Police burst into the room immediately. "Folake Bashir, you're under arrest for attempted murder." She screamed, tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. Simultaneously, police raided Dr. Bashir's home and arrested him. They found a laboratory in his basement filled with poison compounds and detailed notes on Chief Emma's treatment plan. And finally, they went to Ngozi's hotel suite. When police knocked on her door, Ngozi opened it with confidence. "Yes? Can I help you?" "Ngozi Wosu, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and corruption." Her face went white. "On what evidence?" "Your own words, Ms. Wosu, recorded during a prison visit. You and Zara Adefemi discussed poisoning your father and framing Adana Okoro. We have it all on video." As they handcuffed her, Ngozi screamed, "You can't use that. It's illegal. I have rights." "You do," the officer said calmly, "including the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it." 3 days later, Adana was released from jail. The charges were dropped. All evidence against her had been fabricated. When she walked out of the courthouse, Chioma ran into her arms, both of them crying. "You did it," Adana said to her daughter. "You and Barrister Okoye saved me. We're a team, Mama, just like always." Chief Emma was there too, looking healthier already now that the poison had been stopped. "Adana," he said, his voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. I doubted you. After everything you've done for me, I let them plant doubt in my mind. You were being poisoned, sir. Your judgment was affected. I don't blame you. I blame myself. My daughter, my own daughter, tried to destroy you because of my mistakes. Because I didn't help her enough when she needed it. Because I showed you generosity while showing her tough love. She made her choices, sir, just like we all do." Caught on camera. Folake adding poison to the floor. Dr. Bashir's basement laboratory. Ngozi and Zara's prison confession recorded. All 3 arrested. The sting worked perfectly. But now comes the trial. Will they all turn on each other? What sentences will they get? And what happens to Zara? Will her original sentence be extended? Smash that like button. Subscribe to African Tales by Zion because the final chapter shows the trial, the sentencing, Adana's ultimate vindication, and Chief Emma's heartbreaking testimony about his daughter. Comment. What punishment do they deserve? Turn on those notifications for the satisfying conclusion. 6 months later. Lagos High Court. The trial of Ngozi Wosu, Folake Bashir, and Dr. K.O. Bashir became the biggest legal spectacle in Lagos since Zara's conviction 5 years earlier. The courtroom was packed. Media lined the walls. And at the prosecution table sat Adana Okoro, no longer the accused, but the chief witness against those who tried to destroy her. The evidence was overwhelming. Video footage of Folake adding poison to Chief Emma's foredrip, Dr. Bashir's basement laboratory filled with toxicology equipment, and detailed poisoning protocols. Bank records showing Ngozi had transferred £200,000 to Dr. Bashir to fund the conspiracy. The illegally obtained video of Ngozi and Zara's prison conversation, ruled inadmissible as criminal evidence, but shared widely on social media, destroying any public sympathy for the defendants. Text messages between all three conspirators coordinating the frame-up of Adana, but the most damning evidence came from Folake herself. On the third day of trial, she broke. "I want to make a deal," she told her lawyer loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'll testify against the others if you reduce my sentence." The prosecution agreed. In exchange for a lesser charge, Folake would tell everything. And she did. She testified that Ngozi had approached her through Dr. Bashir 2.5 years ago with a proposal: seduce and marry Chief Emma, poison him slowly, and frame Adana Okoro for the crime. "Why did you agree?" the prosecutor asked. Folake's voice was hollow. "Money. My late husband left me with 30 million Nigerian nairas in debt. I was desperate. Ngozi promised me £50,000 up front and 50 million Nigerian nairas when the plan succeeded. I told myself I wouldn't actually kill anyone, just make Chief Emma sick enough to seem poisoned while Adana took the blame. But you did try to kill him. We have you on video adding poison to his fore." That was Dr. Bashir's instruction. He texted me that night, telling me to increase the dose. He said if Chief Emma died, Adana's charges would be upgraded to murder and she'd get life in prison. I hesitated, but he threatened to expose me if I didn't comply. "So you attempted murder to cover a conspiracy?" "Yes." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm a monster. I married a good man under false pretenses. I poisoned him. I helped frame an innocent woman. All for money I'll never see because I'm going to prison." The courtroom was silent. Next came Dr. Bashir's testimony. Unlike Folake, he showed no remorse. "I'm a scientist," he said coldly. "I develop compounds for clients. What they did with them was their business. You knowingly created poison to harm Chief Emmanuel Wosu. I created a pharmaceutical compound. Its application was determined by others. You instructed Folake Bashir, your own sister, to administer a lethal dose. I instructed her to follow the protocol I developed. If the protocol resulted in death, that was an acceptable outcome of the research." The prosecutor looked disgusted. "You have no conscience whatsoever, do you?" "I have scientific curiosity. Conscience is for people who can't face reality." Even his own defense lawyer looked disturbed. Then came Ngozi's turn. Unlike the other two, she didn't plead bargain or show remorse. She sat in the defendant's chair with her back straight, her expression defiant. "Ms. Wosu," the prosecutor began, "you orchestrated this entire conspiracy." "Why?" "Because I deserved justice." "Justice? You tried to kill your own father." "I tried to make him understand what he did to me." Ngozi's composure cracked. "My mother died when I was 22. I came home to take care of him, but he was so wrapped up in his grief that he barely noticed me. The maid, Adana, she was the one comforting him, cooking for him, taking my mother's place. So you were jealous." "I was hurt. I was his daughter." But he looked at her with more warmth than he'd shown me in months. "When I went back to London, I thought distance would help, but it didn't, because every time I called home, he talked about Adana. Adana made my favorite soup today. Adana organized my files. Adana is such a blessing." Her voice rose. "And then when I lost my job and was broke and desperate, I called him begging for help. Do you know what he sent me? £10,000. Just enough to survive a few weeks. He said he wanted me to learn independence, to build character, to prove I could manage money before inheriting his fortune." She laughed bitterly. "But Adana, she got 25 million Nigerian nairas, a house in Lekki worth another 50 million Nigerian nairas, a foundation directorship paying 500,000 Nigerian nairas per month. She didn't have to prove anything. She just had to scream, "Don't drink that tea," and she got everything. So you decided to frame her for the same crime. I decided to show my father the truth, that she was a manipulator who'd con him. I believed Zara when she said Adana had framed her. It made sense. Adana had every reason to poison my father and blame someone else. She'd get to play hero, get rewarded, and no one would suspect the humble maid. Except that's not what happened. Zara really did poison your father 5 years ago. The evidence was overwhelming. Zara lied to me, Ngozi shouted. She manipulated me into believing Adana was the real criminal. I was a victim, too. You paid £200,000 to have your father poisoned. You planned every detail of framing an innocent woman. You're not a victim, Ms. Wosu. You're a conspirator in attempted murder. Ngozi deflated. I just wanted my father to see me, to choose me, to love me as much as he loved her. And instead, you've lost him forever. The prosecutor turned to the judge. The prosecution rests your honor. The defense tried to paint Ngozi as a manipulated victim of Zara's lies. They tried to argue diminished capacity due to emotional distress. They tried to claim she never intended real harm. But the evidence was too strong, the conspiracy too clear, the intent too obvious. The jury deliberated for 5 hours. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous. Dr. K.O. Bashir, guilty on all counts. Attempted murder production of illegal toxins conspiracy to commit murder obstruction of justice. Folake Bashir, guilty on reduced charges due to cooperation. Conspiracy to commit murder fraud attempted murder. Ngozi Wosu, guilty on all counts. Conspiracy to commit murder fraud attempted murder embezzlement. Sentencing was scheduled for the following week. The day of sentencing. The courtroom was even more packed than before. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for: justice. Chief Emma took the stand one final time, not as a witness, but to give a victim impact statement. He looked directly at his daughter as he spoke. Ngozi, you're right about one thing. I failed you. She looked up, tears streaming down her face. When your mother died, I was drowning in grief. I didn't see your pain because I was too consumed by my own. When you struggled in London, I thought tough love would make you strong. I thought if I just gave you everything, you'd never learn to stand on your own feet. I wanted you to be independent before you inherited billions. His voice broke. I was wrong. I should have helped you more. I should have explained my reasoning instead of just sending money and expecting you to understand. I should have told you that every decision I made was because I loved you and wanted you to be ready for the responsibility that comes with wealth. But I couldn't see that, Ngozi whispered. All I saw was you giving millions to a stranger while giving me almost nothing. Adana wasn't a stranger. She saved my life. And yes, I was generous to her. But generosity isn't a limited resource, Ngozi. Helping Adana didn't mean I loved you less. But you couldn't see that because I never explained it properly. That's my failure as a father. He paused, wiping his eyes. But Ngozi, my failures don't justify your choices. You had a choice when Zara approached you in prison. You could have come to me. You could have asked me why I made the decisions I did. You could have talked to Adana and heard her side of the story. Instead, you chose to believe lies. You chose conspiracy and murder. You chose to poison your own father. I didn't want you dead. Ngozi sobbed. I just wanted you to see. I see now. I see a daughter who was so consumed by hurt and jealousy that she became the very thing she accused Adana being, a manipulator willing to destroy lives for personal gain. The courtroom was silent, except for Ngozi's crying. I love you, Ngozi. I will always love you because you're my daughter. But I can't forgive what you've done. And I can't have you in my life anymore. You tried to kill me. You tried to destroy an innocent woman who'd done nothing but save my life. That's not the daughter I raised. That's not the woman your mother would have wanted you to become. He turned to the judge. Your Honor, I ask that you impose a maximum sentence allowed by law. My daughter needs to understand that there are consequences for her actions. Real, serious consequences. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, looked at each defendant in turn. Dr. K.O. Bashir, You are a danger to society. You have shown no remorse, no conscience, no humanity. You created poison with the express purpose of harming others, and you instructed your own sister to administer it. This court sentences you to 35 years in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years. Dr. Bashir showed no reaction. Folate Bashir, you married a good man under false pretenses for financial gain. You poisoned him repeatedly over 18 months. You attempted to kill him. The only reason you're not receiving a life sentence is your cooperation with the prosecution. This court sentences you to 30 years in prison with no possibility of parole for 20 years. Folake buried her face in her hands. Ngozi Wosu, your crime is perhaps the most tragic of all. You are an educated woman from a good family. You had every advantage. Yet you allowed bitterness and jealousy to turn you into an attempted murderer. You tried to kill your own father and frame an innocent woman. This court sentences you to 25 years in prison with no possibility of parole for 15 years. Ngozi collapsed, sobbing. But the judge wasn't finished. Furthermore, Zara Adefemi, who is currently serving a 25-year sentence for the original poisoning attempt, participated in this conspiracy from prison. She manipulated Ms. Ngozi and provided key information that made this second poisoning possible. Therefore, I'm adding 15 years to Mrs. Adefemi's sentence for conspiracy to commit murder from prison. She will now serve 40 years total with no possibility of parole for 30 years. The gallery erupted in applause. As the three defendants were led away, Ngozi looked back at her father one last time. "Daddy, I'm sorry," she whispered. Chief Emma looked away. He couldn't watch anymore. 2 years later, Adana sat in her office at the Nosa Family Foundation, now expanded to 15 states and helping over 1,000 widows annually. Her book, I Keep My Promises, How a Maid Became a Hero Twice, had become a bestseller. She was regularly invited to speak at conferences about courage, integrity, and standing up for truth even when the cost is high. Chioma, now 17, had just been accepted to Harvard University on a full scholarship. She planned to study criminal justice. "I want to help people like you, Mama," she'd said. "People who are falsely accused. People who need someone to fight for them." Chief Emma, now 62, had fully recovered from the poisoning. He'd legally adopted Adana as his daughter, an adult adoption that made their bond official. "You've been more of a daughter to me than my own blood," he'd said during the adoption ceremony. "You saved my life twice, not because you want a reward, but because it was right. That's what family does." The foundation flourished under their co-leadership, and true to his word, Chief Emma had made Adana his primary heir. "When I die," he'd told her, "the foundation will continue with you at the helm. You've proven you can be trusted with wealth. You've proven you'll use it to help others. Ngozi wanted the money without earning it. You earned it without wanting it. That's the difference." One afternoon, Adana received a letter from Kirikiri prison. It was from Ngozi. She almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. "Dear Adana, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. What I did was evil, and I'm paying the price. But I need you to know something. I was wrong about you. You didn't manipulate my father. You didn't steal anything from me. You were just a good person who did the right thing, and my father recognized that and rewarded it. I spent my whole life angry that he didn't give me enough. But the truth is, he gave me everything: education, opportunities, love. I just couldn't see it because I was too busy comparing myself to you. You had nothing and earned everything. I had everything and destroyed it all. I have 15 years before I'm eligible for parole. I'm spending that time trying to become someone different. Someone my mother would be proud of. Someone who helps others instead of hurting them. I'm teaching literacy classes to other inmates. I'm tutoring women preparing for their GED exams. It's not much, but it's something. And for the first time in my life, I'm doing something for someone else without expecting anything in return. Thank you for not letting my father die. Thank you for being the daughter he needed when I failed him. And thank you for showing me what real strength looks like, not wealth or status, but courage and integrity. I hope one day, many years from now, I can apologize to you in person. Until then, I'll keep trying to be better. Ngozi, Adana read the letter twice. Then she picked up her pen and wrote back, "Dear Ngozi, I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to carry hate in my heart. You tried to destroy me, but you failed. And in failing, you freed me from any doubt about who I am and what I've earned. Your father loves you. He always has. He's just heartbroken by your choices. But love doesn't die easily, especially not a parent's love. Use your time in prison to become the woman you were meant to be. Teach those literacy classes. Help those women. Find purpose in service instead of resentment. And maybe 15 years from now, when you're eligible for parole, you'll have earned the second chance you need. I'll be praying for you." Adana. 5 years after the trial, Adana stood at a podium in the United Nations Conference Center in New York, addressing delegates from 193 countries. Her speech was about justice, courage, and the power of truth. "I was just a maid," she told them. "A widow, a single mother. I had no power, no wealth, no status. But when I saw evil, I chose to speak up. And that choice changed everything." She told her story, both poisoning attempts, both conspiracies, both victories. The first time, people didn't believe a maid could be a hero. The second time, people didn't believe a hero could be innocent. But truth has a way of winning, if we're brave enough to fight for it. The delegates gave her a standing ovation. After the speech, as she walked off the stage, her phone buzzed. A text from Chief Emma. "Your mother would be so proud." "I know I am. Come home soon. Family dinner this Sunday. Chioma's flying in from Harvard. Love, Dad." Adana smiled. "Family. Home. Love." 5 years ago, she'd been arrested and accused of the very crime she'd exposed. Now she was a best-selling author, international speaker, and the adopted daughter of a billionaire. But more importantly, she was still the same person she'd always been. Someone who kept her promises. Someone who did the right thing, even when it cost everything. Someone who proved that real wealth isn't measured in money, but in character. She thought about Ngozi, sitting in prison, learning literacy. About Zara, who had another 30 years to serve. About Folake and Dr. Bashir, paying for their greed and cruelty. And she thought about the words she'd told Chioma 5 years ago, when all this started. Evil people will always come for the good. But as long as we stand firm, tell the truth, and refuse to be silenced, justice wins. Every single time. She'd been right then, and she was right now. Justice had won. Again. And it always would. The end. From accused to adopted. From jail cell to Harvard for Chioma. From prisoner to best-selling author. Ngozi got 25 years. Folake got 30 years. Dr. Bashir got 35 years. Zara's sentence extended to 40 years. But Adana, she forgave them all. She became Chief Emma's legal daughter and primary heir. The foundation helps 1,000 widows. She spoke at the United Nations. From Maid to millionaire to hero twice to international speaker. This is what real karma looks like. If this story moved you, inspired you, made you believe that good always wins, then smash that like button. Hit subscribe to African Tales by Zion for more stories where the righteous triumph over evil. Share this with someone who needs to know that truth always prevails. Comment your favorite moment of justice. And remember, when evil comes to you once, stand firm. When it comes twice, stand firmer. When liars try to frame you, speak truth. When conspirators try to destroy you, trust justice. Because evil may be patient, but good is eternal. Thank you for watching African Tales by Zion. If you watched both Part 1 and Part 2, you've seen Adana save Chief Emma twice, expose 4 separate conspiracies, and prove that a maid with courage is worth more than a daughter with greed. Don't forget to turn on those notifications so you never miss another powerful story. God bless you all. Until next time, be brave, be true, be the one who stands when others fall.